Romero, your narrator for today's ceremony. Today, the men and women of the Office of the Undersecretary of War for Acquisition and Sustainment pay special tribute to Ms. Miller on the occasion of her appointment to the Senior Executive Service. The presiding official for today's event is Mr. John Tenaglia, Principal Director of Defense Pricing, Contracting, and Acquisition Policy. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of the official party and remain standing for the national anthem played by Jeff Grover of Contract Policy. Thank you, Jeff. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please join me in offering a very warm welcome to Ms. Miller's family and special guests, her husband, Mr. Eric Miller, and her son, Lucas Miller, her mother, Mrs. Sharon Wolfsey, her sister, Denise Kopecki, and her children, Aspen and Graydon. We would also like to welcome the godfather of the Department of War's Acquisition Warfighting Force and performing the duties of the Assistant Secretary of War for Acquisition, Mr. Jim Rucco. I would also like to welcome fellow leaders and members of the Senior Executive Service in attendance today. Finally, we would like to thank friends and coworkers of Ms. Miller for attending today's ceremony. Your presence is greatly appreciated. It is now my pleasure to introduce your favorite Principal Director of DPCAP and mine, Mr. John Tenaglia.
Thank you, Lori. What a great turnout we have for you, Michelle, today. We have standing room only. This is wonderful. And to have the ceremony in this room, we're really blessed to have that. So good morning to all of you, and thank you as we celebrate with Michelle for this most well-earned induction into the Senior Executive Service. This marks the entry into the ranks of the highest level of civilian career service and marks a pinnacle of your career, moving up the ranks through the federal civil service career. So it is an absolute honor to preside over this ceremony for you today, Michelle. We're fortunate to be joined by several distinguished guests. I didn't know you went by that. That was a surprise. Mr. Rucco, who is performing the duties of the Assistant Secretary of War for Acquisition, along with fellow distinguished leaders here from the Executive Service. Thank you for joining us for this important ceremony. And we understand all of your schedules are insanely busy, so we particularly appreciate you carving out time to be with us today. Before we jump into the ceremony, Michelle, I do want to take a moment to thank the DPCAP team, mostly sitting around that was a fantastic rendition of the national anthem. Jeff, thank you so much. I know that meant a lot to Michelle. But the whole team in the back there who orchestrated this ceremony brought it all together and made it special for you. But first, we'd like to give a warm welcome to Michelle's family, including your mom, Ms. Wolfsey. Thank you for being here, and your whole family. Ms. Woofsy, I know you had the joy of raising Michelle and guiding her, I'm sure, through her many accomplishments. So today marks a culmination point in her work career. But thank you for joining us for this important celebration. Now let's get right down to it. Having worked very closely with Michelle just about on a daily basis, I have an excellent sense, I think, of who she is, what she brings to the fight every day, and why we selected Michelle to be the Director of Contract Policy and to be promoted into the Senior Executive Service. I also recognize that most of you in the audience probably don't have the benefit of understanding Michelle's complete career history, so I will give a brief summary for you, and we'll celebrate that as we look back. Michelle began her federal career in the civil service after earning a Bachelor of Arts in English and a Bachelor of Science in Psychology from Virginia Commonwealth University. And then she began her career actually with the Marine Corps Systems Command, serving as a contract specialist, where she was first introduced to our organization. I think we were known as DPAP back then. But you served a tour with us through our Acquisition Exchange program. I know several AEP participants with us here today. And then following that assignment, you transitioned back to the Department of the Army, serving as a contracting officer and a branch chief. But that wasn't nearly challenging enough for you, I'm sure. So you expanded your breadth and scope of knowledge by joining the National Guard Bureau and then returned to the Army at the higher headquarters level. While serving at the United States Army Intelligence and Security Command, Michelle developed and sharpened her acumen while serving as the lead contract specialist for the $9.8 billion contract for linguist support services. I think I met you then when we were doing a peer review for that program, and Michelle stood out as a superstar at that time. So it was just such a pleasure that was probably, 10 or 12 years ago? Oh. Okay, yeah, that's about right. During this time, Michelle provided training and guidance and oversight for a 30-member source selection evaluation board. And for any of you who've done a source selection, you know that is an intense experience, and Michelle led that in an outstanding way. And then she went on to leading other people and teams. Michelle continued to sharpen her skills, and then she transitioned to become a procurement analyst and a policy director for the National Guard Bureau, and later the Office of the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Procurement, the office that Ms. Bueller leads today. So during this time, Michelle provided regular and recurring contract policy training. You can see the theme and why we selected her as the Director of Contract Policy at the Department of War level, leading over 800 contracting personnel throughout the 54 states and territories, as I guess they call it in the National Guard, the 54. So she established and improved processes to communicate contract policy and changes to the 54 that are still in use today. But prior to joining us, she led and implemented contract policy changes that aligned the executive orders, and we've had many of those lately, and key portions of the Army's transformation strategy. And now she's leading a significant line of effort for Mr. Rucco in the department's acquisition transformation strategy. So she revised the Army source selection supplement, and now you're doing that for us across the department. You created intellectual property and data rights materials that our workforce absolutely need to do their job. And throughout this tenure, Michelle was a trusted advisor, a key leader, and she accomplished a number of things before coming to us as the Director of Contract Policy. Michelle, we're so fortunate to have you on our team. In addition to excelling in primary duties, she made professional and personal development a priority, which is an inspiration for all of us, both the people that you lead and others that see the example that you set. And I'm sure many of you know that Michelle earned a Master of Laws in Government Procurement from George Washington's Law School, and a Juris Doctor from the University of Georgia Law School, and a master's degree in teaching. So, I mean, we should all strive to be lifelong leaders, and you set a great example of that. So. With all these accomplishments that highlight an extreme level of professionalism and dedication, and that's exactly what we expect from our senior leaders. Michelle is widely recognized throughout not just the Department of War, but the federal acquisition community and those circles that she runs in as well. She's an amazing leader, a technical expert, a driven professional with a proven record of delivering results. Michelle, as we induct you into the Senior Executive Service today, we do so with a full faith and confidence you're absolutely ready to serve at this next level and with the increased levels of responsibility. As a member of the Senior Executive Service, you have an even greater opportunity to influence positive outcomes that directly support our nation's warfighters. Congratulations, Michelle. It's an honor to celebrate this occasion with you and your family today.
Mr. Tenaglia will now administer the Senior Executive Service Oath.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And I will well and faithfully discharge the duties. Of the office on which I am about to enter.
Mr. Tenaglia will now present the SES certificate. The SES appointment certificate reads as follows. Presented to Ms. Michelle L. Miller in recognition of being selected as a member of the Senior Executive Service of the United States of America. Signed, the Secretary of War. Thank you, Mr. Tenaglia. You may now be seated. Will Mr. Eric Miller please come forward to present Ms. Michelle Miller with the SES pin? Thank you, Mr. Miller. At this time, I would like to ask Ms. Kimberly Bueller, Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army for Procurement and a member of the SES Corps, to come forward to read the history of the Senior Executive Service.
Good morning. For those of you who may not know the history of the Senior Executive Service, please allow me to provide some background information. The Senior Executive Service is made up of the men and women charged with leading the continuing transformation of government. These leaders possess the well-owned executive skills and share a broad perspective of government and the public service commitment, which is grounded in the Constitution. The keystone of the Civil Service Reform Act of 1978 was the designation of the SES as a corps of executives selected for their leadership qualifications, not their technical expertise. Members of the SES, approximately 8,000 career, non-career, and limited appointment individuals serve in the key positions just below the top presidential appointees and alongside general and flag officers. SES members are the major link between these appointees and the rest of the federal workforce. They operate and oversee nearly every government activity in approximately 75 federal agencies. As such, SES members play a critical role in the democratic process, translating the mandate of the national electorate into the development and execution of government programs, policies, and actions. Upon entering the SES Corps, new members are entitled to an SES flag. Similar to the personal flags presented to general and staff officers, the SES flag is a symbol of executive status within federal service. Designed in 1988, its emblem appropriately represents a keystone, the center stone that holds all stones of an arch in place. This represents the critical role of the SES as a central coordinating point between government's political leadership and the agencies that implement it. Members of the SES Corps are responsible for translating the government's political agenda into reality. The upright lines of the center of the keystone represent a column in which individual SES members are united into a single leadership core.
Thank you, Ms. Bueller and Honor Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Michelle Miller. Welcome to the Senior Executive Service. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
I'd like to start by giving gifts to my husband and my son. And I was told to talk in the microphone, so I'm going to step over here and then give the gifts. But the traditional gift is flowers, but everything in our house is usually Lego. And I'm allergic to flowers, so I am giving each of them a build their own bouquet of roses, because the other huge sin in our house is to give someone Legos you've already built. So you never build someone else's Legos. So I'm presenting each of them with a bouquet of Lego roses. All right, and now the hard part. I think many of you know me well enough to know that I speak in front of crowds all the time. What you may not know is I do not speak in front of crowds well when it's about me. I can tell you about acquisition and policy and things like that all day long. Not a huge fan about speaking about myself. So I'm not going to do that for a second. I'm going to start by thanking a lot of people. So I want to thank all of you for attending. Thank you to Jim Rucco and Kim Bueller and to all of the members of the Senior Executive Service and to all of my family and coworkers and former coworkers and everyone that came today. I am truly honored to see all of you here. Especially thank you to Kim Bueller for taking part in this ceremony. Thank you to Grace and Colonel Witherspoon and Lieutenant Colonel Romero and Susan and Bobby, and I think I forgot like 5 people who actually did a lot of the planning for this ceremony. Thank you to my entire team for helping out. All of them were ushers, greeters, escorts. They all helped out with setting up in the back. Thank you especially to Lieutenant Colonel Romero for serving as the narrator, to Paula for serving as the proffer. Where is Paula? Oh, you sat down. And to Jeff for playing the national anthem. So thank you so much. And Mr. Tenaglia, thank you for the incredibly kind words. I truly appreciate you taking the time to say all of those amazing and kind things about me. This is just incredibly special for me. So I think a lot of you probably know, I grew up in the DC area. I'm one of those few people that's from here. It doesn't happen very often, but because of that, growing up here, also my dad worked for the government his entire career. My grandfather did as well. My uncle did. My mom briefly worked for the government. My aunt briefly worked for the government. My father-in-law retired from the federal government. I've been surrounded by that my entire life. And being in the DC area, like all my friends growing up, their parents worked for the government or contracted for the government. I used to think that concept of like a career day at school was actually a joke, because growing up here, like none of us knew what our parents did, and there was no such thing as a career day because everyone just worked for the government. So just a little perspective if you didn't grow up here. But I also didn't, despite all of that, didn't go straight to working for the government. I took kind of a roundabout path, as you have already heard a little bit about. I started out my career as a teacher, so different level of government. But after a few years, I left teaching. I went into financial planning, did that for a couple years, and decided that I was going to go to law school. So I dropped everything, went to law school. My husband was kind enough to move out. It's the only time I've really lived out of the area other than when I went to college. We moved to Georgia, went to law school for 3 years, and came back. And at that point, the economy had collapsed. So they weren't hiring lawyers, they were laying off lawyers. And I spent quite a bit of time, so I studied for the bar, took the bar, passed the bar, still didn't have a job, and was kind of just trying to find something. And my friend Suzanne contacted me and said, hey, they're hiring contract specialists. I know it's not law, it's kind of similar. We like what we do. She had been a contracting officer for a while, and said, why don't you give this a try? So if you ever want to know how I got here, Suzanne Blagg over there is the reason that I am here today, quite literally. So she said, go apply, and I did, and here we are. As the rest they say is history. Before I talk a little bit about what happened after that, I want to thank Eric and my parents and Denise for being with me through all of that journey before I ever even got to this one. Lucas wasn't even around yet for all of that, and Aspen and Graydon. But there was obviously a lot that I asked of Eric especially, but all of them in supporting me to get even to that point. And then once I got into this career, I somehow kept finding projects that required me to put in a few extra hours or go TDY or do a few extra things. So Eric, thank you truly for holding down the fort those many, many times. Thank you, Mom, for all of the many times you last minute picked up Lucas when he was too young to drive and got him where he needed to be. Thank you all for everything. There is no way that I would be able to be here doing what I am doing now if it weren't for that entire support structure that all of you built around me, and I thank you for everything that you did through all of that. So the other thing I want to thank you for is for at least, for listening and at least pretending to care when I came home and said, this crazy thing happened in contracting today, and then went on to explain some incredibly detailed, nuanced little bit of this thing happened and that led to this. So they're the ones who get the brunt of I come home and I'm all excited and I want to tell somebody about all of this. But I do occasionally relieve you of that because Suzanne Blagg here is my regular phone call on the way home every day that I can tell her and she actually understands what I'm saying. But on the days that she's not available, they get to listen to my very exciting contracting stories. I think they're exciting. Some of you in this room can relate to that. So anyway, I was very blessed getting into this career. I just kept finding amazing new challenges. I don't like to be bored. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. Thankfully, this career affords opportunities to challenge myself and find new things to do and find new ways of doing them all the time. And I truly love that about this. And this position that I'm in now has truly let me do more of that than I ever could have imagined, especially with the acquisition transformation strategy in addition to the policy piece of it. So I am actually very grateful for that and for the opportunity to have this job and to do that. I also want to thank, but also say you were right to, and you know who you are, the people in this room that told me along the way, you're going to be an SES someday, and I laughed at them and said, yeah, we'll see. And there are a number of you in here that you know who I'm talking to, said, nope, that's going to happen. I'll show up to your ceremony. So thank you to those of you that are here that said that along the way. I want to acknowledge Megan Dake, who could not be here today. She's actually doing orientation for her son for college today, unfortunately. But I do want to acknowledge and thank her for pushing me in ways that I did not know I needed to be pushed. She's a lot of the reason that I landed where I did in terms of this career. Thank you to Veronica Alexander. Oh, there you are. She knew when I needed to hear things that I didn't know I needed to hear. She knew when to push hard and to be tough with me. And so similarly, you are a lot of the reason that I am where I am. And thank you to my current and former team for all of the support throughout everything that has come and everything that is to come. But I truly could not have gotten here without the support and teamwork of many of you in this room in various aspects throughout my career. And then John Tenaglia, thank you so much for believing in me, for choosing me, for supporting me, for helping me navigate everything that has come and everything that is to come. I truly, truly appreciate that you took a chance and brought me into this role and have supported me in doing all of these things. And I absolutely love this position and this career, and I am very, very glad to be here. So thank you. And with that, thank you all for being here. I'm just truly grateful to be here and to have this wonderful ceremony today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. At this time, you're invited to congratulate our honoree at the stage for the receiving line. Also, please join us in the back room for light refreshments after the ceremony.
Nice and green here. I don't think I've ever seen a ceremony where we had the flugophone.
Oh, he did play it. Jeff's so funny.